Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are famous for their underwhelming levels. So what would happen if every trainer Pokemon had their levels increased by 50%? Well, today we're going to find out. Before we get started, I'm going to be playing on set mode, and I won't be using healing items in battles. Also, if you like the video, please consider hitting like, comment and subscribe, and hang out in my Discord server. Let's go. So I decide to pick Cyndaquil and I call him Roxy.
You can't read the doll!
The first thing I do is train up to level 10, where we learn Ember, and that lets us pretty easily tear through all the early route trainers, tear through the Sprout Tower, evolve into Quilava, and we end up getting to Falconer at level 18. His Pidgey does pretty much nothing, since an Ember does over half, and we can finish him off with a quick attack. But another Ember on Pidgeotto only does about 25%, and his tackle brings us to just above half. I mentally prepare myself to get stuck in an endless loop of Ember and Roost, but we manage to get a crit. This lets us finish him off with another Ember before he can ever use Roost. Now, I thought we'd really struggle against the rock types in Union Cave, but since they're all either really low leveled or in Onyx,
this is worthless.
We actually don't have any issues here. This hiker outside of Union Cave could have been a problem, since his Geodude knows Magnitude and it's raining, so our Ember is weakened. But once he gets us into the red, one hit away from dying, he's kind enough to not take us down. We head into the Bugsy fight at level 25 and his Scyther is 26. He starts off with a Focus Energy as we do just under half with an Ember. His quick attack does about 30%, as our next Ember brings him into the red where he can eat his Citrus Berry. Another quick attack brings us down to half, as another Ember brings him into the red again. I make a mistake by going for quick attack here since Bugsy heals, and then on the next turn, he gets a critical hit U-turn to take us down. Only in a challenge like this would it be possible to lose to Bugsy with a level 25 Quilava. Since we'll need a few more levels to take down Bugsy, I decide to see how I do against my rival. Ghastly and Zubat both go down to 2 Embers each, and then it's Croconaw last. After seeing how little damage Ember did, I thought we were cooked. But as it turns out, he doesn't seem to know a water type move. I can whittle him down as he keeps going for Scary Face. But once we get him to below half, his flails do pretty good damage and he can take us down. I do some training and get Roxy to level 27 before rematching Bugsy. Scyther starts with Focus Energy again, and I go for an Ember, which actually does less damage than when I was 2 levels lower. Anyway, we can take his quick attack a lot better now, and we get a much higher damage roll with our second Ember. Scyther's Citrus Berry takes him to just below half, and then his next quick attack crits, but we can hang on and one more Ember takes him down. Bugsy's only Pokemon left are Metapod and Kakuna, which he says are tough, but I think if I lost a Pokemon to this Kakuna, I would delete my channel from embarrassment. I rematch our rival and we lose to Curse, so I rematch him again and manage to safely get to Croconaw. Ember still does pretty much no damage, so I basically just sit and wait for a burn. We never get one, but these 2 levels seem to have made Roxy bulletproof, since high power flails do way less damage than last time. When we get him into the red, we can finish him off with a quick attack. Once I make my way to Goldenrod City, I can catch my next team member. I go into the bug catching contest and get a Scyther who I call Detox.
Hold on. X.
And I get pretty lucky, since he's got Technician and a Naughty Nature which boosts attack. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be using him for a while, since I need him to evolve at level 21 so he can learn Wing Attack as a Scyther, and then Metal Claw as a Scizor. Whitney's Miltank is going to be 29, so that makes him pretty much useless for now. After fighting all the trainers in and around Goldenrod City, Roxy gets to level 35 in time for Whitney. She starts with a Clefairy and we get a one-hit kill with a Fire Blast which I got from the department store. This brings out Miltank, who takes another Fire Blast with just above half health, and gets burned but heals it with a Lumberry. Her Stomp does about a quarter to us. I connect with another Fire Blast on the next turn to bring her into the red, and she goes for a Milk Drink. She then goes for Milk Drink for the next 5 turns in a row, goes for an Attract, and then starts to use Super Potions to break up the Milk Drinks. Thankfully we burned her, which means her Stomps don't do much damage, but eventually I just switch out to this random Metapod to break the Attract. We bring her into the yellow with a Lava Plume, and she thankfully goes for a Stomp and not another Milk Drink, so we can take her down with one more hit. This gets Roxy to level 36 where he can evolve into Typhlosion. Now that we can go to Ecruteak City, I can get started on evolving Scyther. The first thing I do is get that Metapod to level 10 where it evolves into a Butterfree. Then we make him faint and put him at the front of our party. Wild Magnemites have a 5% chance of holding a Metal Coat, but since Butterfree has the ability Compound Eyes, that gets boosted to 20%. I get really lucky here since the first one I find is holding one. Now that we have the metal coat, I get Detox up to level 21 where he learns wing attack. Then I use the metal coat to evolve him into a Scizor. I also teach him Roost, which we got from Faulkner. I use Scizor to fight all the trainers up to the Lake of Rage, which gets him to level 31 for the next rival fight. He starts with Ghastly, who Detox can take down with one pursuit. Now, Magnemite has Magnet Pull, which means we can't switch out, but thankfully, even though it's 4 times resisted, Metal Claw does good damage. On the next turn, we Metal Claw again and get an attack boost, but he paralyzes us with a Thunder Wave before he goes down on the following turn. A Wing Attack does pretty good damage to Croconaw, who lowers our speed with Scary Face and then hits us with a weak Water Gun before going down. Last is Zubat, and I switch into Roxy to take the kill. So Morty starts with Ghastly and I start with Scizor. Straight away, we get lucky since our Quick Claw activates and we can take him down with a Pursuit. Then it's Gengar who puts us to sleep. He hits 2 Shadow Balls to take us to 20 HP, and on our last turn, our Quick Claw activates, only for us to stay asleep. I bring out Roxy, who can hit a really strong Fire Blast, but Gengar eats his Citrus Berry and puts us to sleep. And then we sleep for 3 turns again, so we go down. I try again, this time leading with Roxy. Ghastly goes down to 1 Lava Plume, Gengar survives another in the yellow, and after his berry, he thankfully just goes for a mean look, so we go for another Lava Plume, which takes him down. Then both of Morty's Haunters go down to 1 Lava Plume each. So normally now that you can surf, you would go to the west to fight Chuck and Jasmine, but I'm going to go to the east instead, so I can get Whirlpool and then catch my next team member, a Horsey from the Seafoam Islands. I'll need to beat Price to use Whirlpool outside of battle, which I'm a bit concerned about since he'll be level 51, but considering we have Fire and Steel types, I think we should be alright. I also pick up the choice specs, get the experience share, watch this man get disintegrated by a Hyper Beam, and then it's time to fight Team Rocket.
Ariana, what are you doing here?
Lance's Dragonite gets his level boosted here, so it's finally at an appropriate level, so this fight is a complete one-shot sweep. This gets us the HM for Whirlpool, so now on to Price. He starts with a Seal at level 45, who lives in X Scissor and goes for a Hail. Price heals up, so 2 more X Scissors take him down. Then it's his ace, Piloswine. We outspeed and a Metal Claw does half of his health. His Citrus Berry heals him up, and then he goes for a Mud Bomb, which does a decent chunk of Detox's health. I decide to go for a Roost here to help stall out the Hail, since Piloswine has Snow Cloak which could make us miss. The Hail stops and I go for a second Roost while he misses Mud Bomb, so we're at pretty much full health. My next Metal Claw brings him into the red and gives us an attack boost as he resets the Hail. Apparently the 7th gym leader only has 1 healing item, since we can get the kill with an X Scissor. This brings out Dugong, who hits a weak Aurora Beam and lives in the yellow, but then since he goes for rest, we're able to take him down. So now I can head into the Whirl Islands to catch a Horsey. I do the Compound Eyes trick again to make it easier to get a Dragon Scale, and the first one I catch ends up having a modest nature. I call her Alaska, and then I only have to catch 2 more to get one with a Dragon Scale. I give the modest one the experience share for now and head towards the next gym. I fight Chuck next, since after we beat him we can use Fly. He starts with Primeape and I start with Scizor, both at level 44. He goes for a double team, but our wing attack manages to hit and it's a 1-hit KO. Next is Poliwrath at level 47. We outspeed and I go for another wing attack, which brings him low into the yellow. He heals up and retaliates with a weak body slam, and then 1 more wing attack takes him down. After that I go straight to Jasmine. Roxy's holding the choice specs here, but I doubt we needed them to take down Magnemite. Steelix is second and he's all the way up at level 53. I go for another Lava Plume, thinking this would be an easy win, but she actually hangs on in the red. The worst thing she can do to us is go for a 50 power rock throw, so we take down the rest of her team. Professor Elm calls me here, and tells me Team Rocket have taken over the radio tower, but I've got more important matters to attend to. To get Alaska some more levels, I track down all the trainers I've missed so far. So that's all the swimmers around the Whirl Islands, everyone on the way to the Safari Zone, and the random people hanging out in the basement of this cave. That gets Roxy to level 43, Detox to 46, and Alaska to 32. Now, considering Clair is going to have a level 62 Kingdra, I decide to do a little bit more training. Mainly on Alaska to get her up to 42, where she learns Dragon Pulse. I delayed her evolution until now, since Seadra and Kingdra don't learn Dragon Pulse until level 57. But as soon as she evolves into a Seadra, we can use the Dragon Scale to evolve her again into a Kingdra. I put Alaska to use right away in the fight against Petrel, which, with the choice specs, is almost a one-shot sweep. Thankfully, we can hang on from the poison damage at 12 HP, as we take down his last coughing. So this rival fight's interesting. If you choose Totodile or Chikorita, his team will range from level 30 to 34, but if you pick Cyndaquil, his team will be 28 to 32. I think this might be the only instance of this in the entire franchise, and I can't believe I've only just noticed it after playing this game like 50 times. Anyway, this fight's mostly just a sweep with Alaska, with a bit of help from the others.
Ariana, what are you doing here?
The final fight with Team Rocket is against Archer, who literally only appears once in the entire game. Anyway, his Houndour goes down to a Surf, and then he brings out Houndoom. He outspeeds and goes for a bite, but we thankfully don't flinch. We go for a Surf, and because he's 10 levels higher than us, he hangs on in the red. Then, he gives up his chance to flinch us and win by going for Feint Attack, which we live on 32 HP, and we can finish off his team with 2 more Surfs. This guy's really, in charge of Team Rocket. Before we take on the next gym, I visit the move tutor and teach Bullet Punch to Detox. I also try and teach Draco Meteor to Alaska, but apparently she doesn't trust me enough. So next up is Clair, and I'm not feeling confident. I don't really have anything good against her Gyarados. Roxy's going to be pretty much useless in this fight, and I think Alaska will just get outsped and worn down by the Dragonairs before we even get to Kingdra. I can use the Choice Scarf my mum gave me to help Alaska outspeed Clair's Pokemon, but I think I'll need the Choice Specs to get one-hit KOs. I'm going to try to only use Alaska for the fights leading up to Clair, so she can gain as many levels as possible. My best answer into Gyarados is Detox, but I start with Roxy to take the Intimidate. I go for a Lava Plume to get the burn, and we thankfully get it so her bite hardly hurts us. I thought this would give me a safe switch into Detox, but on the switch we get hit with a critical hit Dragon Pulse, which does so much damage considering it's resisted and Gyarados only has 60 special attack. A follow-up Dragon Rage brings us to 36 HP, and a Wing Attack plus burn damage doesn't even get her into the red. Then another Dragon Rage takes us down. I bring Roxy back out as Clair heals, and we only have resisted moves, so I go for a Fire Blast to do as much damage as I can before we go down. But it turns out that Gyarados really can't do much damage to us. We're holding the Choice Scarf, so I keep going for Fire Blasts, and we somehow manage to take down this Water type from full health using fire moves. Kingdra comes out, and we hit our 5th Fire Blast for a sliver of damage before we go down. I bring out Alaska, hoping we can survive a Dragon Pulse, but we actually outspeed, even though we're 9 levels lower. And, thanks to the Choice Specs, Dragon Pulse is a one-hit kill against Kingdra and the 2 Dragonairs. Who would have thought Gyarados would have been the hardest member of Clair's team? Now that we can use Waterfall outside of battle, I go to Mount Mortar and pick up the Aerial Ace TM for Scizor. So the Kimono Girls start off pretty easy. Umbreon goes down to 2 X-Scissors, and Espeon only takes 1. Then against Flareon, I switch into Alaska, who takes a Fire Blast and surprisingly isn't able to get the kill with Surf. So Flareon can burn us before we take him down. Jolteon's next, and I switch into Roxy, but a Thunderbolt on the switch does over half, and since Jolteon's faster than us, a follow-up Thunderbolt takes us down. I bring out Alaska, and Jolteon goes for a double team, but we're still able to hit a Hydro Pump to bring him into the yellow. His next Thunderbolt takes us to 9 HP, as we thankfully hit with a Surf to get the kill. Last is Vaporeon, and I go for X-Scissor, which does a third before we go down to Surf. Then he finishes off Alaska with a Quick Attack. So I come back. This time, I gave Alaska the Choice Specs to guarantee the kill on Flareon, and I gave Roxy the Choice Scarf, so we can hit a Flamethrower on Jolteon before we go down. Jolteon goes for a double team, but Alaska remains unfazed and gets the kill with a Surf. This just leaves Vaporeon, and I switch to keep Scizor alive, so he can get the experience. This must be the bulkiest Vaporeon in the world, because a Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse is a 3-hit KO, and he's only 3 levels higher than us. So while I make my way to the Elite Four, let's take a look at their teams. Everyone's going to be at least level 60, but I think Will should be pretty easy with Scizor. The only moves we won't resist are going to be Aerial Ace and Water Pulse. Koga seems to be the same. The only moves we'll need to worry about will be Gust and Wing Attack, and we have Aerial Ace to get around his evasion boosts. Bruno seems to be where we'll have our first problems. He's got fire moves for Scizor, he's got rock and ground moves for Typhlosion, so Kingdra will probably do most of the heavy lifting in that fight. And then against Karen, Scizor has another good matchup, but I don't know if their levels might be a bit too much for us to handle at that point. Her Houndoom is going to be level 71, and we still have Pokemon in the late 40s. Also, I don't even want to think about Lance right now. Here's one last look at my team before the Elite Four. So against Will, I start off with Alaska, who's holding the Choice Scarf. This lets us outspeed Xatu and hit a Dragon Pulse for just over half. And she does the same to us with the Psychic. One more hit gets the kill. Next is Jinx.
I can hear the cackling from down the street.
Quite the scandal, actually.
Who would want to top Coco?
It's monsoon season! Evie Oddly's
She takes the Dragon Pulse well, and finishes us off with Psychic. Thankfully, Detox can come out and take her out with Bullet Punch. Exeggutor dies to one X-Scissor, and while Slowbro can survive another one, she goes for a Curse, but it's not enough to survive the follow-up. Will's second Xatu is last, and she hits a weak Psychic before surviving an X-Scissor in the yellow and healing with the Citrus Berry. Her next Psychic crits, which we live on just 3 HP, and we get her into the red too. After Will heals, we hit another X-Scissor to bring her back into the yellow, and then finish her off with the Bullet Punch. Against Koga, I start with Detox again, since this Ariados
Ariana!
can only hit us with Giga Drain and Poison Jab. He lives in Aerial Ace, but after Koga heals, 2 more take him down. Crobat's next, and a Bullet Punch doesn't do very much damage, as he sets up a double team. His wing attack does way more than I was expecting, and then I have to switch to using Aerial Ace so I don't miss, but he's pretty quickly able to get us down to 35 HP. I need to keep Scizor alive, so I switch into Alaska, who takes 2 wing attacks, and then misses a Hydro Pump. So I bring in Roxy, who takes more than 50% from a wing attack, and then finishes off Crobat with a Choice Specs Flamethrower. Forretress is next, which is a free kill, and then for Muck I switch into Detox, since he's got no way to damage Steel types. I roost up to full health as he minimises, and then slowly but surely we take him down with Aerial Aces. This just leaves Venomoth, who can confuse us, and we hit ourselves in confusion for about 40% of our health. Venomoth goes for a Psychic, and we hit ourselves again, which brings us into the red. We can hit a Bullet Punch before we go down, which crits to bring him into the red. And that's actually pretty lucky, since Venomoth is faster than Roxy, but since Koga heals, we're free to get the kill with a Flamethrower. So next is Bruno, and I lead with Alaska, who's holding the Choice Specs. Surf does over half to Hitmontop, and he wastes his life going for a counter, so he goes down. Then Onyx comes out next, since he knows super effective Dragon Breath, but he's obviously a one-hit KO. Next is Machamp, and another Surf does just under half. Then he misses a Cross Chop, even though he's supposed to have no guard, so I don't really know what happened there. Anyway, another Surf takes him into the red, and he eats his Citrus Berry, before hitting us down to 36 HP with a Cross Chop that hits this time. One more Surf takes him down. Next is Hitmonlee, who takes us down with High Jump Kick. I bring out Detox here, thinking we could maybe live a Blaze Kick, but it's too strong and we go down. Roxy's next, and a Fire Blast doesn't even do half as he takes us down. I try again, but Hitmontop hits us with a Dig this time, so Alaska goes down to 1 Cross Chop. I bring out Roxy and try to finish him off with a Fire Blast, but he hangs on in the red and takes us down with Rock Slide. Thankfully, Detox can outspeed and get the kill with Aerial Ace. Hitmonlee goes for Blaze Kick again, but I gave Detox an Occa Berry, which lets us hang on, but it still brings us into the red and gets the burn. This means Aerial Ace doesn't get the kill, but we get a crit with Bullet Punch next turn to finish him off, and then we die to burn. Roxy's a few levels below everyone else, so I give her the experience share and rematch Will and Koga a few times, until he gets to 57, where he learns Eruption. Alaska gained a couple of levels here too, and since Hitmontop went for counter, we get to Machamp at full health. Surf is now enough for a 2-hit kill, so we can hit another Surf on Hitmonlee to bring him into the yellow as he takes Alaska down. Roxy comes out, and an Eruption finishes him off. Hitmonchan is next, and another Eruption does about 80% as he retaliates with Thunder Punch. Then I click Flamethrower 4 turns in a row as he whittles us down and uses up his full restores. As we get him into the red one last time, he finishes us off with Bullet Punch, and I bring out Detox to do the same to him. Against Karen, I lead with Scizor into her double teaming Umbreon. An X-Scissor and an Aerial Ace isn't enough for the kill, so after she heals I try a different strategy of X-Scissor and Aerial Ace, which does the job. This brings out Houndoom and I switch on Alaska on a weak Flamethrower. We outspeed thanks to the Choice Scarf, and she thankfully just goes for a nasty plot, so another Surf on the next turn can get the kill. Next is Gengar, and I Surf again, which does under half, and her Focus Blast brings us really low. The first Surf must have been a low damage roll, since our second one is enough to take her down. For Vileplume, I switch into Detox on Petal Dance, and a couple of Aerial Aces finish her off. Finally it's Murkrow who hits a Pluck, and just lives an X-Scissor. As Karen heals, 2 Bullet Punches take her down. So against Lance, the best strategy I can come up with is to use Lava Plume on Roxy to burn Gyarados, and then use a Pasho Berry to survive Waterfall and get another hit off before going down. Then I can bring out Detox, who actually does decent damage with Aerial Ace, but Lance heals, so he goes down shortly after. Then I can bring out Alaska, who's holding a Choice Scarf, and thankfully Dragon Pulse finishes off Gyarados. But then it's one of Lance's weaker Dragonites, who takes a Dragon Pulse pretty well and takes us down with one Dragon Rush. I thought long and hard about how I can win this fight with my current team, but it seems to be impossible. I'd only need to get Alaska from 60 to 66 to be able to outspeed Lance's fastest Dragonite, but to one-hit KO, even with the choice specs, she would need to be level 78, and I don't really feel like grinding up 18 levels, so I decide my best bet is to get a new team member, a Lapras who I call Poundcake.
You're not my real dad, and you never will be.
She can completely wall Gyarados, and she can learn Thunder to take him down. Also, she gets Ice Beam by level up, which is a really rare move in this game. Poundcake should really help against Lance, but first we need to get her up to a decent level. While training her up, I make sure to mainly use Alaska, so that she gets up to 66. So I come back with Poundcake at level 50. She gets pretty lucky, and can take down Gyarados with our first two Thunders. Then for Aerodactyl, I switch in Detox on a Thunderfang and go for a Bullet Punch, which he just lives. This lets him hit a Rock Slide, before he goes down to one more. Next is Charizard, and I switch in Roxy here, who does a sliver of damage with a Flamethrower before going down. I bring out Kingdra, who's outsped, so an Air Slash does about 45% as we take him down with a Choice Spec Surf. As Dragonite comes out, I'm locked into Surf, so I bring in Poundcake on a Dragon Rush, which takes her down. I bring Alaska back out, and then Lance's Dragonite actually outspeeds us here. I thought I did my calculations wrong, but apparently, the two lower level Dragonites have plus speed natures. He misses anyway, but we miss our Blizzard too, and on the next turn, a Dragon Rush takes us down. Then Detox can hit a weak Bullet Punch before going down too. Since the Dragonites have naive natures, this means Alaska needs to be level 73 to outspeed them, not 66. But the good news is that naive natures lower your special defense, so we could maybe take them down with Choice Specs Dragon Pulses. So I come back with everyone a few levels higher. We get lucky against Gyarados again as we hit both of our Thunders to take him down. Aerodactyl's next, and I switch in Scissor on a Rock Slide, which we take pretty well, and then a Bullet Punch is a one-shot. I sacrifice Roxy to Charizard again, and even though we manage to get his health into the yellow, it doesn't actually matter. Then I bring out Alaska. Oh no! Who I forgot to heal after the Karen fight, but it's fine. We take an Air Slash before getting the kill with Choice Spec Surf. For Lance's first Dragonite, I switch in Detox on a Dragon Rush, which brings us low into the yellow since it crits. I go for a Bullet Punch, which does a third, and then he actually misses his next Dragon Rush. Another Bullet Punch does another third, and this time he misses Thunder. So another Bullet Punch does a third and takes him down. This brings out Lance's strongest Dragonite, so we can Bullet Punch again before going down to Outrage. That's actually really good, since he's got a special defense boosting nature, which could have let him survive our Dragon Pulse from full health, but thanks to Detox's chip damage, we can take him down. Lance then sends out his final Dragonite, and we outspeed and get the kill. I'm open to the idea of doing a part 2 to this video, where I take on the Kanto gyms in red, but it would be a boss rush video, where it's just back-to-back fights, since there's not really much else to do in Kanto. If that's something you guys would be interested in seeing, leave me a comment to let me know. That was a pretty good run. I found it way more fun than my Emerald video, since there was just so much less grinding for levels, and I've never used Pokemon like Scizor and Kingdra before. Detox had like 250 attack by the end, which was crazy, but I was a bit disappointed in Alaska against Lance. I didn't think we'd have to match the Dragonite's levels to kill them with Choice Specs Dragon Pulse. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe, as it really helps out me and my channel. Also, I've done this challenge before in both Platinum and Emerald, so feel free to check out those videos too. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.